So we've had a look at the standard templates, and if we wanted to create one from scratch, we can come in and use the template report here. And it's recommended that you always start off with a template, because if you don't, you're not going to have consistent formatting. So of the fonts, columns, every second line highlighted in a different color. So it's always good to start off with the template report. And you can come in and right click and go into modify, and it'll start Java initially, which is in the edit mode, and you can see that the report is blank. There's nothing showing here. And at the moment we're in edit report mode, which is how we position the fields onto the screen, so how we change the layout. And if we want to go in and select some fields or define some restrictions, we need to come into edit query. On the left hand side here we have a list of folders which is grouped into sort of logical orders, and here is where we get the fields from Maconomy. So at the moment we have one field selected, the company number. If we come in and perhaps in this report we'll choose to create a client revenue report and show the client's top 3 and bottom 3 listed by revenue. So if we come into the master folder, you have the job header, and we can navigate just by expanding this, and from within the job header we have the different folders which relate to that, and one of them is the customer of the job. So this is the customer or the client of the job, and we're just coming in to the details to grab maybe the customer number and also the name one, which is the customer name. Once you have those fields, you can minimize the folders again, and we'll also get the job number and the job name. So now we have the dimension information. If we want to go in and now look at the transactions which are registered against those dimensions, we come into the job cost within the job registration and job entry. And we can expand the details of the job entry again. And here I'll get the date, which is the date of entry. And also the amount recognized in base currency. We have at the moment enough fields to start playing with the report, and one of the things which would be nice to do is add some restrictions. So perhaps we want to restrict on the entry date. We just drag it from the result objects down to the query filters, and you can change the operator here from in list to between, and then choose to prompt the user so they will be prompted to enter the value of the start date and end date. And once we've selected the fields and added whatever restrictions we want, we can come in and run the query. And here we've selected to prompt the user with a start and end date. You can use the calendar button here to choose a date, and we're using Maconomy demo data, so I'm going to have to choose a wide date range. So you can select it from the calendar button, or you can manually type one in as well. And once you've filled out all the required restrictions, maybe I can just choose today for the end date, your run query button is enabled. And so we're brought back through to the edit report mode, which is where we position the fields and change the layout. And you can literally just start dragging and dropping the fields in. So I'm pulling in the company number and the customer name and our amount recognized. So immediately I can see that I'm pulling through multiple companies here, and if I wanted to restrict the data on company, I switch back to edit query mode, and very similar to how I restricted on the date, I can prompt the user to select a company as well. So here we have the in-list parameter, which allows us to choose one or more companies, and I can choose to prompt. And when we rerun the query, We have our start and end date, and now we have a new one for company number, and so I'm just going to choose company 10. And in the resulting report I can immediately see that the only company shown is 10. So if I want to remove that company number column from the report, I can just drag and drop it back on the left hand side. You can change the name of the column just by double clicking. And we can remove the other columns here just by selecting with the control key and right clicking to remove column. So at the moment we have a customer list and the revenue brought in from a period of the beginning of 2008 to current. We can apply a ranking to this, so maybe you want to show an overhead report where you're showing the top 3 and the bottom 3 customers by revenue. You select a column and we can add a database ranking here where we can choose top 3 and also the bottom 3. So BP is the top one, and we have some internal jobs, it looks like, which are the bottom. It might be nice if we exclude any customers which don't have any revenue recognized during the period. So again, we switch to edit query. We can drag the revenue recognized down to the bottom, change this to be greater than, and this time, rather than prompting the user, we can enter a default restriction 0. So when we run the query again, we're not prompted for that value, it's already included in the restriction. And I can see that we've removed the internal customers here.